As we say good evening from New York
Indiana,
City,
where President Trump is due to speak at a rally just
McCown
minutes from
tonight,
now, and he's going to talk about his Make America Great Again agenda. We're going to bring you that speech live in its entirety as soon as it begins. So again, we're waiting on the president. We will go live to Indiana momentarily. Meanwhile, Mike Pence tells Robert Mueller it is time to wrap this thing up. The vice president backing up President Trump in his fight against the Russia witch hunt, while McConnell and Ryan remain conspicuously silent.
Joe Donnelly in November, a lot of
Republican Congressman Devin Nunes and Trey Gowdy finally get briefings on classified documents related to the special counsel probe that they've been demanding for weeks. But the DOJ is also showing the material to Democrat Adam Schiff, who's been a thorn in the side of Republican efforts to investigate the corrupt leadership of the Justice Department. Our top story, House Intel Chairman Devin Nunes takes a step back from his threat to hold Attorney General Jeff Sessions in contempt this week. Nunes and Oversight Committee Chairman Trey Gowdy meeting today with top officials of the Justice Department. The DOJ stonewalling on the latest request to turn over classified documents related to FISA surveillance abuses. No substantive progress made here today. The two lawmakers said the meeting was productive and that further discussions would take place. And another bombshell development concerning the tangled deep state web linking fired FBI Director James Comey and Special Counsel Robert Mueller. New emails obtained by the government watchdog Judicial Watch revealing top FBI officials advised James Comey to consult with Mueller about his congressional testimony last summer. The latest discovery seemed to bolster reports that Comey's opening statement and subsequent testimony may have been partially coordinated with Mueller. Our first guest tonight says this collusion led to Comey's attacking President Trump and misusing FBI records as part of a vendetta against the president. Joining me right now, Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton. Tom, my goodness, it just keeps getting stranger and stranger and stranger. But give us your reaction to these latest news developments here. What is your gut feeling on all this?
Well, the first thing, the last thing first, we just uncovered these documents. We started asking for the collusion documents between Mueller and Comey because there were reports that were working together on that testimony. You remember that testimony last year caused a lot of consternation here in Washington. Comey attacked the president, talked about these memos that weren't his, they were FBI records, and
we've seen that. Mike,
you've got to wonder why it is the FBI and Mueller allowed Comey to come out there and attack the president on those issues. And why would they, for heaven's sake, collude with him on getting that information out there in a way that wasn't designed to advance the public interest, but to advance a political interest and a prosecutorial interest in getting President Trump really an abuse of power, in my view. And we've got the documents showing that as soon as Comey was fired, he started working again with the FBI on his testimony in a very friendly way. You would have thought he was just gotten his 60-year retirement in or something. The way McCabe and the others are communicating with him on this testimony, and they're telling him, talk with Mueller, coordinate the timing, we suggest. And Jim Comey is asking about, well, tell me if there's anything I need to know in terms of institutional prerogatives. And by the way, I want to look at documents you may have given the committees about me, because there are a lot of committees who wanted to talk to him at the time. And it's just further confirmation that
he's got his
both the
target set on Joe Donnelly.
And
This is
Mueller
a guy who
had coordinated on
last time he was in
Mr.
Indiana
Comey's
for a rally,
anti-Trump
he
Russia
gave Joe Donnelly a lift on Air Force One
from last year.
and had a rally with him, and he said, "Hey Joe, if you don't vote for my tax bill, I'm coming after you hard."
Mueller's if he's
Joe Donnelly voted against that tax bill, and he's coming after him
behind the
hard
scenes
tonight.
to try and put the pieces together to try and line up his testimony. I mean, it seems to me that it creates a very flawed situation where you can't trust the integrity of any of this.
It's been a good week.
Typically, former government officials or current government officials aren't allowed to testify about communications they had with the president
for the
directly.
viewers at home, you should view this
and the
as
FBI
the
Mueller let
game
Comey go out and do that
for the midterm elections of 2018.
It's really incredible,
because you see
and shows you that
Indiana
this was
as
not,
a
it's not a
state
quest
that,
for the
in
truth.
terms of Joe Donnelly,
it was a quest to
really
get Trump
pretty conservative Democrat. What you see here is Indiana
again, this took us,
becoming
I think we asked beginning in August.
President Trump coming in tonight, he wants it back in the red
We've
column.
sued
And I
for
think
records
that's why
like
he's
this
going to
twice
stand
in
up for
federal court.
Mike Braun, who was one of 3 pro-Trump Republicans running for this nomination. Now you're going to see this, I think, extended
Let me ask you about
into certain
Nunes
states,
and
not
Gowdy
all
and
states
Jeff Sessions
in the
and all this,
midterms, because President Trump
a
is
lot
not
of
going to
folks
be
are scratching their
welcomed
heads
in
right now
every
saying,
state where
this is sort
Republicans
of,
trying to hold on.
Easy
because
pickings,
the
right?
midterms
Like
are going to
the
be a
easy
referendum on
opportunity
Trump.
for
But
Jeff
in
Sessions to
Indiana,
do
he
what
thinks
many
that he can
believe,
help. He
yourself
won there
included, is the
handily,
right thing,
and he thinks
to
he can
launch
help
a
Mike Braun
second
oust Joe Biden.
investigation
A few observations from the other night,
whether or not
on that
there were
election. Mike Brown's a
violations here
businessman.
when it came to getting that FISA document to go after an American citizen.
He embraced Donald Trump, Mark.
Do you think that Jeff Sessions is reluctant for any specific reasons? Can you explain why he's not doing that second investigation?
So he has aligned himself.
Well, maybe because it's Russia and he's recused himself from that too. I don't know. I think the institution of the Justice Department and the FBI is geared towards protecting the Mueller investigation.
When you think about the members
and
of
if you're going to
Congress
ask questions about abuses, about the misuse of the DNC, FBI, the DNC Clinton dossier by the FBI and Justice Department to get FISA warrants that we believe are still being used.
Very
the
much
results
so.
of
Look,
those
this is Trump
warrants
country
and
right
maybe
now.
even currently being used
Juan is absolutely right that there are a lot of states that Donald Trump might not be welcome in the same way he is. But here's the problem: like the Republicans are going to have an uphill battle in the House, but in the Senate, Democrats are defending 10 states that Donald Trump won, including 5 states that he won by double digits.
The Mueller operation
Republicans are
can't
defending
survive
1 state
another fusillade
that Hillary
on
Clinton
this.
won. And in those 5 states that he won by double digits, Indiana is one of them. He's got 51% approval.
And now, if the
West
basis of
Virginia,
their investigations
62%
are
approval.
under
North Dakota,
investigation
49%
from the
approval.
Justice Department,
Montana 50,
you know,
Missouri
the investigation
50. So Donald
collapses,
Trump
and I
is
think they're trying to
extremely
protect Mueller
popular
by
in these states where these red state
stonewalling
Democrats
Congress
who have not been voting
and
with
refusing
him
to
in the
launch
Senate
additional
on
investigations.
big issues. All of them voted against the tax bill. You know, Elkhart County, where he's going to be speaking today, that's the RV capital of the world. Winnebago gave out $1,000 checks to all of their employees because of the tax bill that Joe Donnelly voted against.
Yeah, we're going to court. You know, Congress is threatening contempt. We're in federal court. I mean, it tells you just how
in the early days of
difficult the Justice Department has been. The Justice Department, when it comes to information and secrecy, it's a black hole.
Which all right, well, Tom Fitton, keep it up, because the American public wants answers. Thank you very much. Good to see you tonight. Coming up next, everyone, Chuck Schumer's criticism of President Trump's success in North Korea fallen on deaf ears.
They see this as a state where they can have some
can't be
influence
fooled
by
into giving the
we're
North
putting
Korean
jobs, we're putting
regime
money on
credit
the table.
for returning Americans that never should have been detained in the first place.
Elections. You look at Pennsylvania,
you don't want to give him any credit? None at all? We're going to take that up with the Dean, Ed Rollins, after this break.
Pennsylvania 18. You look at what happened in something like Alabama. Again,
4 hours. Ben, good evening.
All right, moments from now, we'll be hearing from the President of the United States there in Indiana. Huge rally, big crowd there. You see a lot of enthusiasm there in Elkhart, Indiana tonight. Of course, they got a hometown guy coming up on stage. Mike Pence is going to be speaking. He will be introducing the President of the United States tonight. This is an important state for the Republicans, and so that is in part why you see the President and the Vice President both there for this big rally tonight. It's all happening a day after the President managed to bring home 3 prisoners from North Korea. Really historic moment, an important moment. I've been saying it's a little like back in 1981. It certainly takes me down that memory lane of seeing those passengers, the hostages from Iran. But again, this is Mike Pence, of course, Vice President, is going to start speaking. We're going to watch this. Joining me on set as we await the President of the United States as one of the very best political minds in the business, Mr. Ed Rollins, former Reagan political director and a Fox Business political analyst.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
We were talking a little bit earlier. You were saying this is a critical state.
This is a critical state. The truth of the matter is about 5 or 6 Democrat senators. There's 26 of them up, but there's really 5 or 6 that we have to be competitive in. There's 3 of ours, 2 open seats and Nevada seat that are competitive on their side. So assuming they may pick up 1 or 2 of those, we've got to basically pick up 3 or 4 on the other side at a minimum. If we get more than that, all the better.
Is it tricky because its midterms and there's complacency.
It's historically in the midterms, about half the electorate that turns out in the presidential don't turn out. So we've got to make sure that our vote is intense. The people that have Trump turn out and support our candidates, because obviously the Democrats are going to turn their candidates out.
Terrified that Israel now gets involved in that conflict, goes after Assad. So Iran seemingly doing this without telling their Syrian hosts. Very interesting.
War that we've been watching, the shadow boxing back and forth.
It came front and center overnight. Doing this wonderful meeting of these three hostages that were held and released.
On the stage now in Indiana.
Getting up at whatever time to watch Fox and Friends, then getting on an airplane, flying out here. The energy of this president's amazing. So this crowd will energize him.
Yeah, you've said that all along. I remember early in his presidency, Ed, you were a little disappointed that he wasn't out there talking to the crowds more. We have seen him sort of pick that up. And you said that was important also for Reagan. Reagan needed to get out and talk to people.
We took Reagan out one day a week at least because he didn't like the Oval Office. I mean, he basically did what he had to do every day, and he made the decisions. Didn't have quite the energy that Trump has, and since that Reagan got up a little later in the morning and went to bed a little earlier. But when he got out with the crowd, he loved that, and it really revved him up. So one day a week, we try to get him out of the White House.
What do you think we'll hear tonight? I mean, you mentioned the three detainees there in North Korea. That was a pretty big deal.
He has to talk about it. You think 3-4 months ago, we're sitting here talking about going to war. We're now on the verge of having some kind of a serious negotiation. The mere fact that we're meeting is amazing, and the fact that the president of North Korea would surrender 3 hostages in decent shape. Usually they send the bodies back, and I think in this particular case, I think he's trying to make it happen. I think from our perspective, we're going to go in there and negotiate hard, not give up the world. But I think the pieces are in place for something good to come out of it.
Well, the negotiation then has already started to a certain extent, right? I mean, Pompeo's saying, okay, Pompeo's in Singapore, you send back the
Pompeo
hostages.
is going to be a great appointment. He is a smart guy. He understands the president very well, having briefed him as the CIA director over the last year. And I think he's going to be a very significant Secretary of State, and along with Bolton in there, the national security. As much as we miss John here at Fox, he's perfectly positioned for that job.
He's tough.
He's
on this
tough
stuff.
And smart, and he knows the game. He knows the players, and he knows how to negotiate. So
the North Korea issue, it's a big one. Yet you look at the mainstream media, or even, we heard from Chuck Schumer. We just played some sound for the viewers. We went to commercial there, and there is a sort of disdain for anything this president does, but including also, people are saying this is not such a big deal that he got these 3 back. I kind of think it's a big deal. I mean, it reminds me of that, as I said, back in 1981.
Well, very similar men in the sense that they both are strong conservatives, both tough, both able negotiators, both have an ability to communicate effectively with the public. I think it's a monumental first step here. You don't know at the end of the day what's going to come out of it, but at least it's the first step. The fact that you may end the Korean War that was allegedly ended in 1953. Your whole lifetime, most of my lifetime, they've been at war, not fighting each other, but certainly with the lines drawn. And the fact that you can basically sit and negotiate and settle down that whole region of the world is very important.
Pretty incredible, monumental, historic. We are on the front lines of history. Now, we just are watching, I want to remind the viewer, Mike Pence there, the vice president, speaking in Indiana. The president of the United States will be out momentarily. One of the things that he brought up, Ed, is that he wants the Mueller probe to end. A lot of people want that to end because they feel as though, you can't get much accomplished when you get this thing. I would consider it, by the way, a huge distraction. I mean, I don't know how you do your job while you're also dealing with that, but miraculously, he somehow is managing to balance a whole lot in the air all at once.
I've been in White Houses. The first one I worked in was the Nixon doing Watergate, and then second, Reagan, the Iran-Contra, and what have you. Anytime anybody in the White House is under challenge, it really throws you off your job. And then when the president of the United States is, and people in his White House have to go before, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to go testify, it's very difficult. It's a 16, 17-hour a day job for just about everybody who's there. And the fact that you got to worry about what you say, where you say it, and what someone else may have said about it is just terribly distracted. And I think Mueller's had a year. We've had all kinds of congressional hearings. Nobody has come forth with one single charge charge against this president or any serious person in the White House. And I think it's time. It needs to end. School year's out. He had to go home.
Mueller's willing to do that, though. I mean, you think about when you go in and you're the special prosecutor and you're looking for all this evidence. You know what you're trying to solve for, right? You're trying to prove collusion with the Russians. So he's working towards that end. And even though he may not have that yet, does he feel on some level that he's failed if he doesn't actually deliver on the collusion?
Well, I would hope not. I hope that his mission was to go find the facts, and I think to a certain extent he's had plenty of time to try and do that with a very effective team. So we'll see what comes out of it. Obviously, he's got a couple of indictments for past sins, not present sins or not campaign sins, for people in Manafort and what have you. Mm-hmm. And I think that may be enough to declare victory and move on. But
you get two federal judges, by the way, saying, "My goodness, what are you guys doing here?"
Well, I think that's a valid point. I mean, I think Manafort's, and certainly we can let the jury or judges decide. I've known Manafort a long time, and he probably did some things that were improper, but he didn't do them in the campaign. I think the reality here is this is an investigation about the campaign and Russian contacts, and nobody's come forth any.
What does this tell you, though, about where we're going, sort of as a country? I mean, look. Putin's getting exactly what he may have wanted, Ed. I mean, this may have been his goal all along. Let's just mess with the Americans, and sadly, here we are getting messed with.
It's always been propaganda. I mean, my whole life with Soviets and now Russians, it's always been about propaganda. They're very good at it. They were always around the White House when I was there, hanging in the bars around the White House. More the administrations before my administration, but we were more teetotalers. But they were always there, and propaganda is their thing. They spread misinformation, and you're now seeing the Facebook ads that are coming out. It's all about misinformation. It's how do you create chaos, and what more chaos can you have than to have a president distracted for well over a year now, and probably beyond, and this is what we're talking about, and it's just and it's damaged this president, whether there's anything comes out or not. It has distracted him and it's damaged him because it's created some doubt in some not necessarily Trump supporters' minds, and that's not a good thing for the country.
No, I hear you. Stay with me, Ed, please,
sure.
As we wait now on the President of the United States. Let's bring into the conversation here national spokesperson for the Congress on Racial Equality and conservative commentator Niger Innis. Niger, good to have you here. What do you think is going to be the main message from the President of the United States there in Indiana tonight?
I actually think that former Speaker Pelosi teed it up for him quite nicely earlier this week when she said that should she and the Democrats come back into power, that they will essentially repeal the tax reform, the tax cut that millions of Americans are getting the benefit of. You have a booming economy, and Nancy Pelosi has pretty much said, "Hey, I'm going to reverse this trend." And Indiana is a perfect location for that because you not only have a lot of rank and file, working class, blue collar Americans that have benefited directly from the tax cut. You have also a lot of entrepreneurs, manufacturers. You have a manufacturing renaissance that's taking place in places like Indiana and Pennsylvania. And I think that the president's going to hit this nail right on the head, that if you let Democrats take the Senate or take the House of Representatives, you've got raising taxes coming your way.
Yeah, we're also here with, I'll bring Gina Loudon into the conversation, political analyst and a member of the President's Media Advisory Board. I don't know how that ever sells. I really don't, because I think instinctively, Gina, every single one of us wants to keep as much as we possibly can of every penny that we earn. And the idea that you're just going to give it away to Uncle Sam so that Uncle Sam can spend it on whatever Uncle Sam spends it on, I don't know how that would ever sell. And I actually think it's kind of a dumb idea of Nancy Pelosi to be putting that forward because, she has any shot at winning. It's not going to be telling people they're going to pay more taxes.
I used to say the Democrats were imploding, but now, Trish, I'll say the Democrats have imploded. They have no message. They have very few candidates to speak of. They're having to run on Trump's coattails. I mean, think of that for a moment. I think after tonight's rally, we'll start to see Donnelly doing the same thing. I think he'll be running on the Trump platform, the conservative Republican platform. They think they can go around for years and act like socialists, and then right before an election, they're going to come in and act like conservatives because you're right, Trish. We do like to keep our tax dollars.
Well, look, Ed knows I grew up in New Hampshire, and there are 11 Democrats running in the primary there. Not one of them, Ed, is saying that they support Nancy Pelosi. Not one single Democrat. So you see, they're all trying to distance themselves from that.
Nancy Pelosi comes from a district that's 82% Democrat, San Francisco. I mean, it's the second most. California, Barbara Lee has one that's 83%. I mean, it's the second largest Democrat in the state. She can say that. I'm reminded of Walter Mondale. The only negative commercial we ran against Walter Mondale in 1984 was he said at the convention, I'm going to raise taxes, Reagan's not. I'm going to tell you I'm going to raise taxes, he's not. We went out and beat him 49 votes. And so my sense, you're not going to find many Democrats following Nancy Pelosi saying, please elect me, I'm going to go take your taxes.
No, I mean, I guess you're appealing to sort of the masses that maybe don't want to actually go out and work, Gina Loudon. I mean, that's the problem here, right? Then that's, if you're in your heart a socialist and you want to kick back and not go to work every day, but want the government to take care of you, and Nancy Pelosi is promising to tax everyone else, then maybe that's who you bring in as the voting population. But I don't think you have enough of those people. And I think that this election really showed you the majority of Americans want prosperity. They want optimism, and they want a chance for themselves and their children to be able to compete. So how does the president drive home that message about economic prosperity in 2018?
Well, I think he is driving it home. I think we're seeing that reflected in his numbers going up, and even that of the First Lady's numbers going up. The president's numbers going up with women. I think they've doubled in the last 4 weeks, if I remember the statistics correctly, and with all minorities. And I think that, money absolutely talks. I've said for years, conservatives and all the voters in America generally, they talk with their pocketbooks. So when their pocketbooks are being talked to, they're talking back, and they're going to do it in the midterm elections.
I think all these things are, they play off each other pretty interestingly, Niger. I mean, whether it's economic security or actual physical security. And so that gets us back to the success he's had thus far with North Korea. So if he gets a real win there, and when I say a real win, I mean bringing some kind of peace to that peninsula and the denuclearization of North Korea to the world, then that's something that's, I don't know how you paint that. I know they'll try in a bad light. The question is it going to be enough to really motivate people to get out? Because as Ed said earlier, there's a little fatigue, a little malaise out there, and the base is not necessarily as fired up to go to the voting booths in midterms in any election.
Well, that is exactly why the president is going to places like Indiana, and he's going to make his face well seen in campaign 2018. And, certainly an old friend of my dad's, Ed Rollins, will remember the Reagan Revolution and how that led to the fall of the Berlin Wall. Well, with President Trump and what he's doing in North Korea, we could have the fall of the Berlin Wall.
With the incredible, hardworking patriots of the Hoosier State. Hoosier. And I don't know if you see what's going on outside, but you have a lot of people outside that want to get in, but they're not getting in because this place is packed. This place is packed. This is truly an exciting time for our country. Jobs are booming. Remember? I told you. Confidence is soaring, and optimism is at the top of every chart. This is a great time for our country. A lot of things happening every day. We are unlocking new opportunities for prosperity and for peace. All of these changes are happening because America is being respected again. At 2 a.m., early this morning, And by the way, I got back to the White House at 4:30 a.m. And somebody said, oh, that's okay. You can cancel Indiana tonight. And I said, you just don't know the people of Indiana. I don't have the courage to cancel. But at 2 o'clock in the morning, I had the incredible honor of greeting 3 brave Americans who had been held in North Korea, and we welcomed them back home the proper way. And on June 12th, in Singapore, I'll be meeting with Kim Jong-un to pursue a future of peace and security for the world, for the whole world. And the relationship is good. But you remember everybody in the fake news where they were saying, he's going to get us into a nuclear war. He's going to get us into a nuclear war. And you know what gets you into nuclear wars? And you know what gets you into other wars? Weakness. Weakness. So the relationship is good, and hopefully, I mean, for all of us, for the world, hopefully, something very good is going to happen, and they understand it's very important for them, it's important for everybody. So Japan, South Korea, China, everybody, I think it's going to be a very big success. But my attitude is, and if it isn't, it isn't, okay? If it isn't, it isn't, but... And you have to have that because you don't know. We're not going to be walked into an Iran deal where the negotiator, John Kerry, refused to leave the table. What a deal. What a deal. But here at home, the great news keeps rolling in. 3.3 million new jobs since election. Now, if during the election, and by the way, how great is Coach Bobby Knight? How great? Oh, we love our coach. Remember, he came in? He called me before I was running. I didn't know him. They said, Bobby Knight's on the phone. I said, what does he want with me? I never announced. I was thinking, but I guess he read, and he said, Mr. Trump, I hope you're going to run. I said, check and see whether or not this is Coach Knight. But actually, when I heard that voice, I knew it was Coach Knight. You can't duplicate that. And I took his number, and I said, Coach, I'm thinking about it. He said, you're gonna win. If you run, and does he know about winning? And if you run, you're gonna win. So anyway, I put his number down, and I was coming to this area. By that time, we had a big lead. But they said, Indiana. And a friend of mine said, if you could get Coach Knight, that would be a great thing. I said, you know, he called me like a year ago. Let me see if I can find his number. And on my left, I had a pile of papers like this high. And I said, let me see. I lifted up thousands of pages of junk. Some actually pretty important. And I lifted it up, and there's this little thing, Bobby Knight's cell phone number. Isn't that great? And I go bum 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 ba 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 ba. And he picks up the phone and he said, I've been waiting for you to call. Believe that? And he came here, and we sold, I don't know what the hell that arena was, but it was a big one. And they went crazy. And Lou Holtz and Coach Katie. Right? Coach Katie, Lou Holtz, we had them all. Coach, by the way, not from this area, but he's one of the greats of all time, Coach Belichick, right? Great guy. We gotta love him. No, we love him. We love him. He knows how to win also. But we had a lot of coaches. They like us. They understand winning and they like us. And that's what we've been doing. And if we would have told you during the campaign that we would create 3.3 million jobs in the short time, everybody back there, the fake news media, look at all of them. They're fake news. Everybody back there would have said, can you imagine? He's saying we're going to create 3.3 million. Can you believe it? We would have been, but you know what? We understand. We understand. And today, in the history of our country, just came out, right? We have the most jobs available in the history of our country. Just came out. I like that. We like that. We like that a lot because we have a truly great country, and I've been promising you those kind of numbers. The unemployment rate is at the lowest level since the turn of the century. African American unemployment has reached the lowest level in the history of our country. Remember, I used to read stats. Hispanic, African American stats. And I'd read, and it said, high crime rate, lousy education, this. I'd read like 6. And one day in front of a massive crowd, 25, 30,000 people, I said, vote for me. What the hell do you have to lose? And you know what? They did. They did. And my people all said, oh, that was not nice. I said, it's true. Because the Democrats, who are just obstructionists, that's all they can do. The Democrats have had a lock on the Hispanic vote, and they've had a lock on the African American vote. No longer. So the Hispanic unemployment, likewise, is the lowest, think of it, in the history of our country. It's the lowest. So you have African American, Hispanic, women. Do we love women? Women. The lowest unemployment rate in 18 years. I'm sorry we didn't make it in history, but we're catching it. It'll soon happen. I'm disappointed with that. Can you imagine? My most disappointing stat is women. It's the lowest unemployment rate in 18 years because all of the others are history. But I have a feeling the women will soon be history too because that's what's happening. And all of the great momentum that we're having as a country on jobs, on safety, on security, on our military, it's all at stake in November. You know, I don't think we've ever done better as a country. Certainly the economy and lots of other things. Look at all those beautiful red hats. Those beautiful red hats. Lift them up. Boy, oh boy. And I like the white ones too. Make America great again. Lift those whites up there. But it can disappear quickly. You know, what we did was unprecedented in the history of our country, really in the history of the world, what we did with this election. And the strides that we're making have never, ever been made like this before. But it can also disappear if you put fools and if you put the wrong people in. It can disappear. I mean, Nancy Pelosi said yesterday, Nancy Pelosi said yesterday she wants to end the tax cuts and raise your taxes. I said, tell me, is that like good politics? You know, it's not about politics, but think of that from a political standpoint. I don't think her party was too happy. But you know what? That's her thought. That's what they want to do. They want to raise your taxes, end your tax cuts. They want to have open borders where everyone flies into our country. That's not happening. So this week, you nominated an incredible slate of Republican candidates, many of whom I know. And you have to work every day between now and November to elect more Republicans so that we continue making America great again. And by the way, this is the first for Indiana. Our new slogan for 2020, you know what it is? Keep America great. Keep America great. Because we're doing so well that in another 2 years, when we start the heavy campaign, Make America Great Again wouldn't work out too well, right? It's going to be Keep America Great, because that's exactly where we're heading. But don't tell anybody. I don't want anybody to know. We want to save that for a surprise. But I do like that. And you know what I paid for that slogan? You know, a lot of these people, the politicians they run, they pay millions of dollars for ideas like that. How much did I pay for that? Zippo, Zippo. And I have great respect for the process. But in all fairness, Obama, President Obama, paid $1.8 billion for hostages. You, not me, you, last night you saw it. And again, it's leading to some very big things. And I think that Kim Jong-un did a great service to himself, to his country, by doing this. But those hostages came out with respect. We didn't pay for them. We're going to set the table. We're going to make a great deal for the world, for North Korea, for South Korea, for Japan, for China. So what he did was the right thing. But they came out for nothing. And the others came out for $1.8 billion in cash. Can you believe that? We're honored to be joined by a friend of mine and somebody who's done a really, really good job. Somebody that's respected very, very highly, Senator Todd Young. Todd. Where's Todd? Where is he? See? That's a great politician. He doesn't even want a good location. He is of the people. Thank you, Todd. We also welcome the largest vote winner in Indiana history, except for Trump. Attorney General Curtis Hill. Where's Curtis? Good man. He's done a great job. A woman who has been of tremendous help on the tax cuts, on getting rid of regulation, which maybe is just as important. Right, Jackie? What do you think? Jackie Walorski. Jackie. Done a great job. And some congressmen who have been incredible. Larry Bouchard. Where's Larry? Larry, great job. Congressman Jim Banks. By the way, somebody that just fought an incredible campaign, a really good guy, and I'm not sure I would have been here. You know, we're talking 2 days ago. Very effective, a terrific man, Congressman Todd Rokita. Thank you, Todd. Great job, too. He fought tough. They all fought tough. That was a tough race. But we have somebody here who won that race, but we'll talk about him in a second. Let me also congratulate two of our new Republican nominees for Congress. First, a proud Army veteran who earned 2 Purple Hearts, Jim Baird. Jim's going to really do well. Jim. Great, Jim. And second, a man that I know Mike has been rooting for a long time. I'll tell you, Mike loves his brother, who won by a very big margin. I don't know, was that a bigger margin than Mike Pence won by? I don't know, Mike. That was a big margin. Greg Pence. Greg. Finally, a big congratulations for Indiana's new Republican nominee for the United States Senate, Mike Braun. That was a good race. Get up here, Mike.
Yes, you did, and it's great.
How about we let Mike for a second interrupt my speech? Is that okay? Come on, Mike. Great job.
One of the neatest experiences of my life was spending 30 minutes riding with the president. And you wouldn't believe the advice you get, and it's great advice, and I'm going to incorporate it. Yeah. You know, when I started this journey almost a year ago, I traveled the state, spent a lot of time in the north, and wanted to make sure this was going to end up with a good result. Would not have done it if I wasn't inspired by what this man did in 2016. He cleared the field systematically, and really that was the inspiration for doing it. And I can guarantee you, when I get there, I'm doing it for the right reasons. I'm a businessman and an outsider, just like our president. And you can count on me to be a true reinforcement and the guy that is going to retire Joe Donnelly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And we need Mike Braun in the Senate, and that's going to happen. That's going to happen. He's an incredible guy and ran a really incredible race. Now, if Joe Donnelly, Sleeping Joe, and the Democrats get back into power, remember what I said. They will raise your taxes. Who wants to raise your taxes? They will destroy your jobs, and they are going to knock the hell out of your borders, and that's already. We have the worst immigration laws in the history of mankind. We're slowly getting them changed. We want to make it quick. So give me some reinforcements, please, okay? Last week, as an example, the deputy chair of the Democratic National Committee, Congressman Keith Ellison, you know him? Marched in a parade wearing a T-shirt that read, he was very proud of it, "I do not believe in borders." But I have a lot of respect for Keith Ellison. You know why? Does everyone know why? So when I announced on June 16th, he was being interviewed by George Stephanopoulos on ABC. And in the interview, this was a couple of days after I announced, and Keith Ellison said, "You know he's going to win, don't you?" True. Right, Mike? He's true. He said, "You know he's going to win." And George and somebody else there, I won't mention the name. Go ahead. They smiled a little bit, respectfully. But Keith Ellison, he said, he is going to win. And essentially, he was sort of indicating, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do, and that's what we did. So, in one sense, I have to respect him. He said he's going to win. So you can never dislike a guy like that, can we? But they've got a big problem. A vote for a Democrat in November is a vote for those borders, and we have to do something strong. We are going to build the wall. We are already starting the wall. We're going to build the wall. You know, we've already started. We got $1.6 billion. We're fixing a lot of it. We're in San Diego. So here's a case study. San Diego wants the wall. And I said to my people, here's the bad news. If we give them the wall, we don't have an advocate. If we don't give them the wall, they're going to be putting a lot of pressure on Governor Moonbeam in California. Right? But you know what I did? Something I would normally not do, which means in life I'm getting nicer as I get older. I said, let's build a wall for San Diego, so we're building them the wall. I shouldn't have done it. Actually, I sort of changed my mind after we started. I called my people, I said, how much would it cost to stop building the wall in San Diego so they go out and advocate for us because they're desperate for their wall, because they don't like people running over their front yards and all of the problems, right? Including, by the way, massive amounts of crime. I said, how much would it cost to stop? I'm in the construction business, is what I do best. They got back to me, they said, sir, it'll cost approximately $7 million to stop. Now, that's not big numbers when you hear about the numbers we talk about. $7 million to stop and restart it at a later date. I said, I can't do that to the American people. Keep building the wall, right? So we're building the wall, but we're getting it all done. We're going to get rid of catch and release. We're going to get rid of the lottery system. We're going to go eventually, when I get the votes, I need Republicans. We're going to go eventually to a merit-based system of immigration. Merit. You come in on merit. Your senator, Joe Donnelly, voted against enhanced vetting. Think of that. What in the world would anybody be doing voting against enhanced vetting? Why? And he opposed a measure to block illegal immigrants from getting welfare. And now you have places where they want to give college tuition to illegal immigrants, and your own kids can't get it. Your own kids can't get it. Joe Donnelly voted no on tax cuts, no on better health care, and he voted no on canceling job-killing regulations, which may be even more important than those incredible tax cuts. But he voted yes on something that we are systematically taking down. We got rid of the individual mandate. We have great plans coming out. He voted yes for failed Obamacare. And we're doing everything to keep those premiums down. But it's a failed experiment, Obamacare. But wait till you see the plans we have coming out literally over the next 4 weeks. We have great health care plans coming out, but we got rid of the individual mandate. Joe Donnelly will do whatever Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi tell him what to do. They don't ask him. They don't ask him. They tell him. They don't say, will you? They say, Joe, this is the way you're going to vote. Mike Braun will be a great, great representative of the people of Indiana. Mike Braun is a winner. Great businessman, by the way. Very successful.